I'll just tell the story of how I came to be in a village of Kapafora in Aranya district, Bihar, in this February. And it started with reading a piece in the Hindu. Actually, there have been a couple of pieces in the papers before, but there was a very good piece by a very good journalist called Shubhajit Banerjee in the Hindu, which he'd done some proper investigation, and it seemed to me that he had established beyond any doubt that something had happened. Is that better? That something had happened in this village that was really not only quite extraordinarily ghastly, but quite well documented. And my experience as a journalist in this part of the world is that actually it's getting the hard evidence to prove that something's happened can be quite difficult, especially in this case. It had been some weeks before. So in any case, I spoke to Lena and others and got put in touch with Devika, and an arrangement was made. I think you were going to go to do some fact-finding anyway.
No, I was, but actually Rakesh and other teams were supposed to go over there.
Okay.
But when the team was not going over there just because there was some problem, somebody has health problem, somebody has illness, and Rakesh had to come back the next day. So that team was not going.
That's right.
And who will go along with you? So I said, instead of sending anybody else, I am the daughter of Aranya.
Yes.
So I will rather give him can translate as well. So I volunteered.
Okay. Well, yes, and now I remember that there was I think some nervousness at one point whether or not to have a journalist along with the fact-finding team, and I think that's maybe an interesting area that we can explore about the different needs and priorities of journalism, and I think I would suggest that on this occasion it dovetailed perfectly. But anyway, I think there was a worry, I think, and I got a message saying that you can't come, and for a while I was just going to go anyway. But anyway, it all worked out. But apart from I arrived, that's just briefly tell you, I arrived in Patna and the hotel wouldn't let me in because I didn't have my passport with me, and ended up being a blessing in disguise, because I ended up spending the night with Shubhajit and got more information, and he was incredibly helpful. There were three people that made the whole story kind of work. One was Shubhajit, the other was Devika, and the third was the SP, but we'll come back to him later perhaps. So after a kind of rather uncomfortable night in Patna on Shubhajit's floor, we set off the next morning for a very, very long drive on bad roads in Manipur, and then spent the night in Aranya with Devika's family. And the next morning, that night we met the SP, whose name
Mr. Siddip Lande,
that's right. Who is an astonishingly really good bloke. Had been, I think, moved out of Patna by the government authorities because he was too honest, and had come down hard on some of the people there, and had been given this, I think, punishment posting.
Yeah, it was a punishment posting for Mr. Siddip Lande because he was SSP of Patna earlier, and he rounded up as for all those road Romeos before in front of the girls' college and beat them, and it was that they were sons of very high political leaders and senior IAS people. So he got as a punishment posting at Aranya.
Okay. So I think without him, none of this story would have worked, because not only did he take action against the original complaint, he'd already won the confidence of the people that they went to him in the first place. B, he went and responded in a timely fashion to their information, and kind of came the next morning to the camp. And C, had the great presence of mind to take a video camera and video the aftermath of the camp, which we will come back to describing. But that was absolutely key. So anyway, we met him that night, and then the next morning he took us to the village, where a number of where people had been asked to come by him or by others, and there were about
all the 53 women are more than that, and local people, local community people, near about 150 or maybe 200.
There's at least I would say at least 150 people, and they showed us the classrooms where the operations had been taken, and the place where the women had been just laid on the floor to recover. And they also, so Davika and I sat in one of these classrooms and took the testimony of probably about 15 women. It quickly became clear that the pattern was pretty similar, that they had. There was little evidence that they had been coerced in the sense that they didn't know what they were doing, but they had clearly not been counselled, they had not been examined, they did not know that there was a financial element to the ASHA relationship, and a number of fresh information that Socio-Legal didn't have, for instance, that part of the financial incentive for these women were medicines, and they produced the medicines, and the medicines were all out of date. So these kind of 10 rupee strips that were 2 years out of date anyway, so kind of pretty much worthless. And then amongst the women we spoke to, the most striking case history was the one that I used in the introductory kind of paragraph of the piece that I wrote, which was a young woman called Jitney Devi. She didn't really. I think most people there were called Devi. That was the clan name. But Jitney didn't really want to. She didn't make a big fuss about it, but she just told us in a matter of fact way that she had been pregnant and had miscarried. She hadn't been aware that she was pregnant, but she had miscarried a couple of days after the operation, which, given the guidelines, it is absolutely appalling that nobody would have spotted that. And I make specific reference to Jitney because I see in the, I've just been shown today in the government of Bihar's response to Vika's litigation, they deny. They said that there was a paragraph that says it is evident that Jitney Devi was not pregnant. They base this on the fact that the investigating team that went to see her, she wouldn't see them or couldn't find her, and that some other person quoted says that she wasn't pregnant. So it's a farce. All I can say is that she told us that of her own volition, without any hope of reward, and in fact she didn't get anything. So there was nothing in it to her, which is a matter of fact, and in amongst a lot of other sort of testimony from other women.
Can I ask you, do you think that when she was just narrated that she has miscarried, that it was tutored by anybody else?
No, definitely not.
Definitely.
No. The slight disadvantage is that obviously this was translated for me, but it wasn't like that. There was no tutoring. There were, as I say, there were at least kind of 10 to 15 women who were kind of queuing up to tell us what had happened. There was nobody was, and she wasn't. It wasn't presented as, my God, this is the worst, and you know what, this is the thing that's really, really terrible. It just came out among the round of lots of other kind of information that we had gathered, and there were lots of other terrible things. By the way, there was like women who had come around on the who were fully conscious during the procedure. Although that was pretty ghastly detail, it wasn't by any means the only ghastly detail. I would happily testify that there was no suggestion or no evidence of any kind of tutoring or coercion in that testimony that she gave us. And the best the government of Bihar could do to knock it down is to say that they can't find her, which hardly amounts to an adequate denial. So, I mean, that's so then, just to complete the narrative of the trip. Having done that, we then, you may have to refresh my memory. We went to see the Surgeon General, who had written the first report in response to the FIR, where they had initially suggested that this was absolutely fine, that it had taken place during the day, that all kind of guidelines had been observed. I mean, and she was obviously on a very sticky wicket at that point, because by this point we had huge, incontrovertible evidence that it had taken place at night and that none of the guidelines had been followed. And so the question was, why had she signed off this evidently false report? And we never really got a kind of straight answer for that, did we? There was a lot of shuffling of feet, and we got the very strong impression that she wasn't actually really in control, because there were a lot of men in the room with her. One of them, I think, was her husband.
No, not husband.
Not husband, no.
He was an assistant manager. Public service. DH's manager. He was manager. Right. But
he was the one that was answering the question. We would ask her a question and then he would answer. And I mean, I particularly wanted to know what the incentive structure was for, because I mean, one of my ghastly though this case was, I wanted to get a sense that it was very unlikely to be an isolated incident, given the incentive structure and the way that they were outsourcing to third-party organisations and then not monitoring how they were doing this. So I was, asking all kind of questions about. And then from then we did get the admission that they felt under quite severe pressure from the state government to meet targets, which I think was important to my story, and I think, in policy terms is an important point to make. Because obviously, subsequently BR tried to suggest that this was just a one-off experience, but I mean, how can it be if they don't have the adequate monitoring, which they clearly don't? We don't know what's going on out there. It's very unlikely to be the only kind of camp where terrible things are happening.
Don't you think that when it was supposed to be, as per the letter of the district health society, that they have to do it in the hospital campus only, that it was a violation in the first part, and our government was just trying to suppress the fact that there was a violation?
I think that, from my reading, it was that the government of Bihar had been and continues to be praised by big international organisations like the World